Hey guys, and welcome back to History of Vision Success. Now, we're back into our series of kind of fun and exciting stories, things that you might actually want to know about, not just school stuff. So, I've been interested in, I've been reading some books actually about the Romans over the holidays, and I have been really interested in some of the examples of Roman revolts and protests against Roman rule. So, of course, I've been drawn to the famous Boudica. Now, Boudica, rebel, queen, warrior, widow, mother, and most importantly, woman. Her leadership of a massive uprising in 60 AD not only ensured her central place in history, but also shows the difficult relationships between the colonizing Romans and the local British populations. Despite her fame, only two historical sources ever actually mentioned her. The second century work by Roman historian Tacitus is one of them. The other is written by historian Dio Cassius. Each provides details about the British uprising, an event dated from AD 60 to 61. Tacitus presents both sides of the story by describing the provocations endured by the Britons. A member of the Roman elite, he was not an admirer of dictatorial government, and he used the rebellion to question the manner in which the province was managed. Dio Cassius describes Boudica as possessed of greater intelligence than often belongs to women and someone who brought ruin to the Romans along with the greatest of shame. Now, the British warrior queen spoke to a force of 120,000 people, depicted by Dio as tall and terrifying. She stood on a platform grasping her spear, an unbound mess of tawny hair falling to her hips. Dio depicts Boudica's behaviour and appearance, her leadership, her stature, as outrageous for a woman by Roman standards. His writing of her colourful clothing was meant to shock audiences of the time, so it's important we don't trust his writing completely. Little did he know that his writing would create a symbol of Boudica as the image of freedom, intelligence, and the strength of Britain. Now, before we look at Boudica, what was Britain really like when Boudica was alive? So, Britannia was a young Roman province. The Roman army had been campaigning there since a successful victory in Kent in 43 AD. This had resulted in the surrender of 11 British kings, and Emperor Claudius himself had travelled to Rome to witness this surrender. The entourage was deemed so important that they had even transported war elephants. At this time, Britain was made up of a large number of independent people or tribes. Boudica's husband, Proustigus, ruled the Iceni. Now, it's written that they had two daughters, and after the death of her husband, Boudica, it was expected that he left his holdings to Rome. However, Rome were very upset to find that he had instead left half to his daughters and only half to Emperor Nero. Roman administrators ignored his final wishes and seized all of his property. They publicly beat Boudica and raped her daughters. This enraged the Iceni people, and a nearby tribe, the Trinovants, along with many others, joined them. Boudica rallied her forces and prepared them for war. Now, Dio Cassius wrote that she said, "How much better is poverty with no master than wealth with slavery?" She called for unity among the people in this fight against tyranny and the Roman taxes. Her forces, which may have included many female warriors, began their attack at Camaldunum, the Roman colony at Colchester. This was a principal cultural symbol of Roman power in Britain, as it was here that Claudius had accepted the surrender of British kings. They burned the temple built for Claudius and decapitated, that means cut his head off, the statue. The head was discovered in 1907 in the River Ald in Suffolk, nearly 40 miles from Colchester. So over, almost 2,000 years, that head has been lost and travelled and been transported, and finally it was found in 1907. They destroyed a unit of the Roman 9th Legion and swiftly moved south to Londinium, the future British capital city. At this time, it had a population of around 9,000 and was an important urban centre. Next, the settlement of Verulamium, a Roman town near what is today St Albans, and archaeologists have uncovered thick layers of burning dating to AD 60. It was reckoned a total of 70,000 Romans were killed in these three cities. So how did it end? Well, Paulinus, Britannia's governor, prepared to battle Boudica. He deployed a force of around 10,000 men, and the Romans were outnumbered by the Britons. It's likely the battle took place in the Midland area. Now, Tacitus wrote that Boudica and her daughters drove around the battlefield in a chariot, shouting at the soldiers. Whilst both writers describe the length of the fighting, the Romans eventually prevailed. Tacitus describes how the Britons actually had no line of battle. They were not nearly as experienced or skillful in terms of fighting as the Romans were. Around 80,000 Britons, including women, were killed, while Roman casualties were only around 400. The Romans probably disposed of British dead in large pits. What happened to Boudica is unknown. Tacitus wrote that she probably poisoned herself. Dio Cassius is different. He writes that Boudica actually fell ill and died. Now, reprisals for this rebellion were severe. Settlements were ravaged by fire and sword. However, Londinium recovered quickly. The Romans failed to ever conquer the Scottish Highlands, and by the 2nd century, the province of Britannia came to comprise the area south of Hadrian's Wall. And that's the story of Boudica. So I'm going to do another video about a revolt against the Romans, this time the Jewish revolt in Jerusalem. So if you're interested by this, wait and see, wait for that one really. And don't forget to subscribe.